that's a little quick intro about myself.
Thank you very much, Kane. Let's move to the segment 2. In this segment, I will ask you a question from you. And my first question of the day is, please introduce your project to our audience.
Sure thing. So for Gryphon, what we are essentially doing is, so we started off building on Injective as a liquid staking platform. Essentially, what we're going to be doing is expanding beyond that. A lot of people were asking us in terms of, liquid staking. There were other competitors, right? Or I wouldn't really say competitors. I would say collaborators, because, for example, Dojo Swap was doing something. Hydro has done an awesome job in terms of building their platform. So our goal was to expand upon that. And one of the things we expanded upon that is essentially the stable coin side as well as the restaking side. So this is something that really hasn't been really talked about much. So a little bit of alpha for those that are listening in on this AMA is our focus really speaking with Injective is number one, the native stablecoin side of things, which is something that's needed within Injective. And then also second part is essentially the restaking side of things in terms of being able to restake your rewards without having to unstake. Mainly because of this is right now within the I would say right now within the Cosmos ecosystem, there's this like 21 to 24 day unbonding, unstaking period. If you've used Gryphon in the past, you've run across that, and that becomes a little bit annoying, especially if you're trying to restake rewards or try to, boost a position without having to, and then having to unstake, wait those 21, 24 days, and then restake it. So this is essentially covers a lot of that and allows you to, for example, do this without having that unbonding period. Makes it a little bit more efficient. And then also allows you to capitalize on the yield without any downtime or waiting period.
Thank you very much, Ken, for the explanation. It's pretty interesting thing. We staking and reducing the staking time period and giving those opportunities for the community. Those are must in the DeFi. Our community will be excited to know about those opportunities. So my second question is, what's the reason to go with Injective? Because there are a lot of other ecosystem as well in this space.
Yeah. So we spoke before we started building on Injective, we spoke to a few other layer ones on Cosmos. So I have an Ethereum background. And so I spoke with my founders. They wanted to build on a Cosmos ecosystem. So we spoke to a few, and Injective pretty much had the best to offer in terms of network support, anything like support that has to do with like liquidity, introducing us to investors, marketing, things like that. And, we took a look around, started chatting with some of the community, some of the other projects, and it was actually something that really had some really good synergy for us. So that's the reason why we ended up working and building an Injective was the community, the projects that were there, the budding ecosystem. It's not like right now it's not the biggest, but it's growing. It's one of the fastest growing on the Cosmos ecosystem. And so when we decided to do that, we really got into it deep. If you take a look in terms of some of our things, we really got into the whole ninja theme for some of the Injective, or to match some of the energy in the Injective community. But really, it's really been about the community, the projects, and the support that we've been getting from Injective.
That's great. It's nice to know the onboarding process is smooth. I mean, in the community-wise, tech-wise, everything is perfect, right? I mean, you have good experience with onboarding with Injective. So it's really nice thing. And so let's move to the last question from me in the segment two. My final question for the segment two is, what are the short-term plans for the quarter one of 2020? For I mean, I want to know what are the short-term plans, what are coming in next 1.5 month time period.
Sure, sure. So in short-term plans, right now, there's really two major things, really. One of the big ones is the release of the stablecoin. So that's NUSD. And so it's slated to release around February, maybe early March. It's right now on, and I haven't released this time period, so everybody who's actually listening in is getting a sneak peek or kind of some alpha here as well. So right now it's finishing up its security review phase. So it's kind of getting its last final looks, last final checks before it actually goes out and becomes live. So the date that was given to us was towards the end of February, but you know how these things go with development, right? So we're thinking it probably gets pushed back until early March. Second thing that we're doing, and I know I linked one in our Discord. I'll probably leak uh, a few more elements, but we're redoing two things: our landing page and as well as our product. So the product kind of still has some of the old flavor to it. The new product needs to be uploaded. So we're working on that. Our front end designer and builders are working on that. And then the other part is the landing page to make sure that it incorporates a lot of what I just spoke about earlier, which is that restaking stablecoin side of things, making sure that the message, so making sure that even though like we're still working on liquid staking, so some of the things that we've been working on are still going to be available, but we've grown beyond that to incorporate a lot more of the needs within DeFi, not just Injective by themselves, but also uh, Cosmos and Cosmos or even some other layer ones.
Those are little alpha news, and yeah, pretty interesting about the and so the growth in the upcoming month. So let's move to the segment three. I will unmute the chat for like 2 minutes. In this segment, you can put your question to the chat, and the Ken will pick the best 5 questions from the chat. Let me unmute the chat. It will take around 10 seconds, I guess. Hello guys, you can send your questions. Uh, there are pretty interesting questions coming in.
Yeah, there's some good ones here. Might be more than five that we pick, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
I will mute chat around another 1 minute. You can put question till that. Okay, I think those are the questions for this. I will again mute the chat, then again can pick some good questions. Okay, now stage is yours again.
All right. I think the first one that I've seen the most asked is the stuff about NUSD. So for NUSD, the stablecoin, it hasn't been released yet, so you can't get it. So you can't trade for it. You can't swap for it. Right now, the only way to earn it is by staking INJ on Gryphon and earning NUSD as the reward. But right now, if you had staked on Gryphon, the dashboard shows 0 just because it hasn't been released yet. Once that's released, it will auto-populate and it'll essentially show on your dashboard in terms of how much you've earned. So that's how you get NUSD. As far as how it works, so this is something that's interesting. So essentially, as of now, how this essentially works is when you stake your INJ, we get you stake through us onto a validator. So we're actually not a validator. This was something that we went back and forth about on whether or not it made sense for us to be a validator, but because we wanted some decentralization on our part, it made sense for us to not be a person validator because we know a lot of projects both in the Cosmos ecosystem and outside of the Cosmos ecosystem that choose themselves as validators. So they essentially get all the validator perks and rewards and things like that. But didn't make any sense for us. So, we have a few validators listed on our website. For example, like Figment, Black Panther, Talus, like guys like those. So when we stake there, there's essentially yield that gets back to us in INJ. And how this essentially works for us now is that INJ is used to mint NUSD, and that's how the NUSD rewards come. And so, in terms of the mechanism, in terms of, for example, like how much NUSD you get, so as the NUSD is being minted in terms of like specific I wouldn't call them epics, but like minting periods, let's say, the prices of INJ is being evaluated. So as the price is essentially getting evaluated, if it's higher, obviously more NUSD is being essentially being minted. So, for example, one of the bigger questions that we got was, what essentially happens if Injective loses a bunch of value? And this is important. So, number one, your assets are still safe. There's nothing that essentially happens to them. NINJ equals one NINJ is always going to equal one INJ. So the thing is, what ends up happening is you'll still get NUSD as staking rewards. It just defaults to the Injective network APY as a baseline. So I think today, or I think yesterday, it was at 15%. I don't know what it is today. I haven't checked. So essentially, that's what essentially happens with your NUSD rewards. And if for example, knock on wood, INJ somehow loses a ton of value, you still get staking rewards, but they're just basically baseline rewards. It's more of a bonus, and you want INJ to go up because you get more of an NUSD return. That kind of explains the NUSD side of things. In terms of backing, it's really more backed by, right now it'll just be INJ, but as we grow into other assets that we're allowing on the platform, then it'll be essentially backed by other assets as well. So it's just something that we've been working on with Injective specifically. So there's more to come on that. Again, right now, NUSD is currently being worked on in terms of its final review and just getting it prepped for making it live. So that's the first question. That hopefully that answers some questions about NUSD. That's really good, awesome that you guys are interested in that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much
Uh,
for answering that question. I have a little concern. What we are going to do, we are picking the questions on the chat right now, or we will pick the good questions later on. I mean, you can make a notation on the chat right now, or you can pick the good question later on. I mean, after the AMA.
oh, I was just picking up, some of the questions that I saw. Okay, we can make this a little bit quicker, and then some of the other bigger questions, I can address
Yeah,
towards the end of
yeah,
this AMA.
as you
Cool,
wish.
cool. Okay,
Okay.
cool. The second one, um, is there plans to introduce more advanced features or tools on the Gryphon UI? Yes, there is. So like I said, as we, or maybe as I leak more of the UI to the public, you'll definitely see a lot more functionality in terms of what was there initially. So right now, what's there initially is just being able to stake your INJ and withdraw your INJ, but we'll have more in store in terms of pools and essentially restaking when that's available. So yes, there's more plans to add more of that into the Gryphon UI. In terms of marketing strategies to attract more users, so essentially it'll come down to a lot more of, I would say, campaigns that revolve around different types of rewards. So either rewards by doing some joint pools. I know we have one up with Black Panther, but it hasn't really gotten too much traction. So for us, in terms of how we plan to roll this out, I think we're looking more at a lot of collaborations with other projects within the Injective ecosystems. And I know there was another question here that addressed for us on any things that are um, outside Injective. Yes, but I would say that's really, really further down the roadmap. But for us right now, in terms of the marketing side of things, it might be a little bit quiet. Um, but yeah, it might be a little bit quiet, but yeah, we're still going to be pushing more previews as we get along into releasing the new product UI. What was that? I think that was the third question.
Yeah.
Um, let me see. There was one that I was actually want to answer. That was really quick. So one of them is, let me see. Um, so in terms of integration with other popular DeFi protocols and ecosystems beyond Injective, I kind of touched upon this later. I would say further down the roadmap, we are talking with, number one, a few other layer ones, other applications outside of Injective. Um, that's still something that we are playing around with. I think one of the main things that we want to do first is establish our footing within Injective and really build out a product that fits the market, something that you guys actually benefit and will use. And then once essentially that is built out and useful, we want to make Injective our home. That was one of our number one priorities. And then we'll start branching out into other networks if uh, if it makes sense for us and if it makes sense for the community and the community that we're getting into. In terms of this one's a good one too. This one's really quick. How does Gryphon ensure the safety of user funds? So this is great because we made it public a few weeks ago. I would say yeah, probably in towards the end of January. But we are working with Halborn. So Halborn's going to be our security experts that we'll be working with. So Halborn's one of the top Web3 crypto blockchain auditing firms that are out there. And so they are currently reviewing our code. This is why also the kind of leads into the sixth question, which I saw, which was like why the staking cap hasn't been opened up, was mainly we were waiting for Halborn to give us the okay because we didn't want any changes or any other additional changes into the code while they're doing the assessment, the security assessment for us. So in terms of user funds, we're trying to work with the best in the industry. I know that there have been a few people that have reached out, but we're working with Halborn to make sure that all your funds are safe. I think that's 5 questions now.
Yeah. I have one more question from my end to Kane. I would like to know about the leaderboard and the point system and the referral system, because the guys are interested about those things, because there is a leaderboard thing in the Gryphon, and I think guys should know about that. If you can enlighten our community about this little bit, that would be great.
Sure. So this essentially leads
I thought
to.
actually somebody will ask that question.
Oh yeah, I thought so too. Interesting that no one did. But yeah, so it essentially leads to quote unquote an airdrop. And someone kind of sort of asked it, but not really directly asking if we had a native token on the platform. So for us, yes, there will be a native token. It's a little bit further down the line. Again, like these things, well, right now it's our blocker is not really us. Right now, the current blocker is essentially Halborn and them doing the security assessment for all our assets, all the mechanisms, the platform as a whole, the stable coin. So even though they give us a date and it sucks, and I've been at their mercy or at an auditing firm's mercy before. But even though they give us a date, for example, they said the stable coin is ready in the end of February. We're thinking maybe March. For the native Gryphon token, will there be one? Yes. But in terms of timeline, we don't know because I don't think they've even started looking at it. The last time I checked on their weekly updates. So I don't know the exact timeline for that is, but so essentially the leaderboard and the points leads to an airdrop, and so yeah, so it's hard right now to even get on there right now because you can't stake. In order to get points is either you're staking INJ or your referrals and your second level referrals are staking INJ. That's how you get points. But right now you can join the platform, but no one can really earn any more points because the staking cap has been filled, and we kind of closed down that vault just for the time being, so Halborn can do the review. But yeah, that's kind of a quick explanation in terms of what the leaderboard and the points of where basically gets you a share of an airdrop, obviously proportionally. Like one will get a different allocation than someone that's at 100 or 150.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. That makes me to ask another question, because if we buy the NINJ from the market, I mean from Helix, and convert it back to the CW20 format, if we are earning points still, I mean if we convert it from the bank standard to CW20, if you are buying from the Helix?
Yes. So for example, if you get it on Helix, let's just say you had INJ, and for whatever reason you didn't want to take that INJ or that stable coin, and well, actually, it's just I and J right now, and stake it onto Gryphon for some reason you wanted to buy it off of Helix. Yes, you will still get the NUSD rewards when you convert it back to CW20. That's correct.
Yeah, that's all my questions regarding the matter. Uh, so this is the end of the question, I guess. That's it, Ken. So we are going to
Awesome.
conclude. Yeah, we are going to
Yeah, I just
conclude the
wanted to,
Amos session, I guess.
yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for coming in. Thank you guys for asking. There's actually some really good questions. Sometimes when I do these, the questions are very high level and basic, but this was, it's awesome that you guys have been, asking some really good questions. Thank you for having me, and look forward to growing with you guys, and thank you guys for the support.
Yeah, actually, we have an ongoing video contest. It's about creating video guides about how to use Gryphon. Unfortunately, the gap is filled, but guys have made some awesome guides. I will share with you those things and after the end of the contest. And thank you very much, Ken, for the attendance today because I know how busy you are. And thank you very much again for your presence today.
Awesome. I
See you.
appreciate it. Thank you all.
Yeah, see you guys, and the winners will announce shortly. I mean, by tomorrow morning, I will be able to announce the winners. Thank you for attending, guys. See you later. Bye bye.